Welcome everyone to an unlocking fun in Brawlhalla. I just wanted to go over some things. So I have not paid for anything in this game using like actual money. I've worked to unlock all the characters and I've worked hard to get all of them to at least level 11. I have made some purchases with the points for 3 different people to have, or actually for 4 people to have colors. And there's Queen Nai, who has white now, Azoth, who also has white, and Rayman, who has white, and Lucky Clover. I thought there was one more. Let's see. Got the white there. You got that special color and Soulfire for Asuri. Don't I have Soulfire for him? No, okay. I have Soulfire for Yumiko and for Zol. And for Vector. I guess that those are the only 3 that have white. Rayman, Azoth, and Queen Nai. Now I wanted to kind of go over what I consider the S rank legends. So S rank legends are good at 2 things: kicking ass and taking names. That's right. But for real, what I'm looking at for the S rank legends is that they can have 7 or 8 points in 2 of their abilities. So like Bodvar here, he can only have up to 7, and that's in his strength, because everything else is so even. So he cannot be an S rank. Cassidy, however, can be an S rank with her strength stance. She can't be an S rank with any other stance except for that. And this kind of makes her a very quick hard hitter. So you just stand in the middle and you hit hard and you hit fast. You just knock everyone away. Orion is not an S rank. Lord Vrax is an S rank, only with the speed stance. Now the speed stance does take away his defense a little bit, but with the lance, the speed can be necessary. It's a great big help to have him be an S rank. Nash can be an S rank in his normal stance, which is great, but I went ahead and switched it to his defense stance because his attack stance takes away from his speed, making him not an S rank anymore, and his speed takes away from his defense, which I don't like. You got to be able to come back from people's attacks. So Nash is probably one of my favorites right now because of how he is set up as an S rank. Queen Nai is also an S rank. She's a Juggernaut type S rank. He's more of an assassin with his strength and speed so high. She's a Juggernaut with her strength and defense really high. She could be an S rank with her normal stance, as you can see, but I want to add it to attack just so you just do more damage. And if you add it to defense, it takes away from attack, which makes her no longer an S rank. Hattori can only be an S rank with dexterity added, with her dexterity stance. Now that does take away from strength, but you'll be able to run around and hit people faster than they can hit you. You can come out of nowhere and just tear people up. Even though it's going to take a lot of hits, if someone's in the red, you can quickly chase after them and knock them out. So Hattori is a good ninja type, basically. Sir Roland cannot be an S rank, unfortunately. His dexterity and strength are too evenly matched for him to get up to get his strength up to the level it needs to be an S rank. Same thing with Scarlet. So I have the strength stance for Sir Roland and the defense stance for Scarlet. The defense stance, because her strength stance takes away from her defense. So I thought might as well just add to defense so she can bounce back. Because strength and defense are probably some of the most important features. And Thatch is another assassin type. He hits hard. He is an S rank. He can be an S rank in his normal stance, but of course I want to add more attack to him. If you add more defense, it takes away his ability to be an S rank. So just go ahead and add attack so he can sweep in and knock people out. The assassins are probably a favorite amongst some of the best players. And case in point, Mordax. You see people using Mordax all the time. Ada, even though she's pretty popular amongst some of the better players, she is not an S rank because she is pretty evenly matched everywhere except for her defense, which is why I gave her the defense stance. Sentinel is an S rank only if you give him the speed stance. Now this makes him what my wife likes to call a boomerang. Can be very fast, and when you throw it out, it always comes back because it is quick and it has a lot of defense. So him and Val and Kaya and even Lucian are all like a boomerang S rank. Speaking of Lucian, he has very low attack, but he has very high speed, so he's a bit quicker than Sentinel. So there are some people who can be really good with Lucian. I can be good with Lucian. I saw someone earlier today that was kicking ass with Lucian. It still can be very difficult. Taros is another S rank, but only if you equipped the defense stance. As you can see, he becomes a Juggernaut S rank. Brynn cannot be an S rank. She gets so close, but just add the strength stance for her so you can do a bit more damage when you're running after people and destroying them with Brynn. Same with Azuri. Not an S rank, but add to attack because it doesn't mess with the defense. Barraza is an S rank only if you equipped the strength stance, as you can see. Ember is an S rank. She has a lot of attack, and you're taking away from attack by giving her the dexterity. But if you gave her the strength stance and make her an assassin S rank, it takes away from her defense, so you have to not get hit. This is why I chose dexterity, because dexterity and strength kind of go hand in hand, so it doesn't affect her too much to become a ninja with dexterity and speed. So choose the dexterity stance for Ember to make her an S rank. To make Azoth an S rank, you have to use the defense stance, as you can see. He is one of my favorites. Koji cannot be an S rank. His abilities are too evenly matched. And if you do the strength stance, it takes away from defense. So I do the defense stance. You know, it's one or the other. I usually do, unless they're an S ranked. So that's the kind of key here. Always default strength stance. Unless strength takes away from their defense, then do the defense stance. And if they're close to being an S rank, go ahead and add it to that whatever dexterity, defense, speed, or strength that will allow them to be an S rank. Olgrim's also an S rank, but only if you put him in the strength stance and it doesn't take away from his defense, so that's perfect. Diana cannot be an S rank. She's too basic. I just don't like her. Brawlhalla can be an S rank with her normal stance, but of course, I like doing more attack, so it doesn't matter if I take away from speed. She's going to do a lot of damage. She's going to stand in the middle and just murder everybody. Core can be an S rank only if you do a strength stance, so that's how I have him set up. Wusheng cannot be an S rank. Val, this one surprised me. She can be an S rank, but only if you put it in defense. I thought she had more attack than that. Apparently not. So yeah, she has a similar setup to Lucian and Sentinel. Actually, she has the same stats to Sentinel when you equip the defense stance. And she's a lot of fun to play with. Ragnir cannot be an S rank. Cross can be an S rank, but only if you give him the defense stance. Mirage can be an extra S rank, but only if you give him the dexterity stance. Nyx is another boomerang, but only if you give him the speed stance. And Mordex can be an S rank, but only if you give him the strength stance. He looks like he has the same, almost the same. He has almost the same abilities as Nash. Nash has a bit more defense. Alright, and then Yumiko is an S rank in normal stance. And if you go to attack, it takes away his S rank. If you go to defense, it takes away from his strength. So I don't want to do that. You can do that. It might help you. And adding to his speed takes away from his defense. I wouldn't recommend this. And then adding to his dexterity takes away his ability to be an S rank, so I just go with the basic stance for him. Artemis cannot be an S rank, so I chose defense, obviously because strength takes away from defense. And then Caspian can only be an S rank if you add to speed. So that's what I did. He becomes one of the assassin types, and he has an even amount of dexterity and defense. So don't get hit, but keep in mind that you have to be moving around a lot to get your hits in correctly. You can't just stand in the middle. With the assassin types, you have to be the one that's running around and getting behind people to hit them. Sidra can't be an S rank, so just go ahead and put her in the strength stance and you'll be good to go. Zol also cannot be an S rank because he puts way too much into his strength, but if you add more to his strength, it takes away from his defense, so I add to his defense, because why not? He already has a shit ton of strength. There's no reason to add a little bit more to risk yourself in defense. So just add to your defense. Kaya is an S rank in her basic stance. And since I like adding to strength on the default, I went ahead and did that since it only takes away from dexterity. This way, I can sweep in and do more damage when I want to. Isaiah cannot be an S rank. Gyro can be an S rank with his normal stance, his basic stance. And you can't be an S rank when you add strength, and when you add defense, it takes away from strength. I mean, I guess you could do that to help him out. Definitely do not do the speed stance because it makes him weaker than ever. So I went ahead and went with the basic stance for him. Lin Fei can be an S rank on her basic stance, and I went ahead with a strength stance because even though it takes one away from dexterity, she has plenty to spare. So She does a bit more damage now, and she still can kick ass as quick as anyone, and quicker than most. And then Zariel is an S rank in basic stance, and obviously I went with the defense stance because I want to either be able to add strength or defense, but when you add strength, it takes from defense. Rayman cannot be an S rank, even though he is probably the most fun to play with. Obviously, he is the highest rank that I have, or the legend with the highest level that I have, level 22. So yeah, if you have Rayman or you haven't gotten him unlocked yet, unlock him, play with him. This week he is one of the featured characters, as you can see with the blue exclamation point. So play with him. He's a lot of fun, and yeah. Then Dusk cannot be an S rank, even though his dexterity as default is up at 7. His strength isn't, so I just add to strength so he can do more damage. Fate is an S rank in her normal stance. Why did I go with speed? Okay, so let's find out. So, okay. With the strength stance, it takes away from her speed, making her no longer an S rank. You can go with the basic stance. Don't go with the defense stance because that takes away from her strength. Also makes her no longer an S rank. You could add to her dexterity, but that takes away from her defense, so that's very risky. So I just went ahead and added to her speed, just so she's a lot faster. I can get behind people quicker, and she's a quicker assassin than Mordex. Thor is an S rank, but only if you put him in the strength stance. Petra is an S rank, but only if you put his speed stance on. As you can see, he becomes another assassin, and he has similar stats to Fate with this stance, but he does more attack and less speed. So he is a lot of fun to play with. Just remember, you're not as fast as Fate, but you do more damage. Now, even though he is a lot of fun to play with, he can be frustrating. So just don't let yourself get too frustrated when playing with him. Vector can be an S rank, but only if you put him in the defense stance. Now, this does take away from attack, which normally I wouldn't do. But since it makes him an S rank, and he's very good at dodging, especially with his rocket lance, I went with it anyways. Volkov can be an S rank only if you add to his defense. And now he is the only legend that has defense and dexterity as his highest two. So basically how you want to play with him is you want to stand in the middle and just hit people over and over again. Or when people are close to red, or they are red and they get knocked out and they come back, you want to be the person waiting there for when they come back, and you want to knock them out. Or you can jump up after them and knock them out, but you're not as fast as everyone else. So you're better luck, you have better chances with just staying in the middle and using your dexterity to your advantage. Finally, Onyx. He is not an S rank, and he can't be an S rank. And that's everyone. And as you can see, they were all at least level 11. They all were wearing purple, and that was the goal. In order to get purple, all of them have to be at least level 10. Some of them can get purple as soon as level like 4 or 5. But I went ahead and got them all to level 11 because why not? I still have 20,000 points left over, but I'm waiting for more legends to come out. So I'm saving up some points just in case they decide to come out with a bunch of them all at once. Like they did with Rayman, Dusk, Fate, and Thor, and then all of these guys. So, thank you everyone for watching my video, showing you my stuff. Me talking about S ranks. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.